Hey, what up YouTube? Jason here, and what is my intro? I didn't write a script for this video because apparently filming Jason hates editing Jason, but today is a very fun day in the studio because I got a new guitar. This is a Squier Starcaster. I got it for myself as a Father's Day gift because, well, Penelope doesn't have any money, doesn't have a job. We tried to talk to her about it, like, you're about to be 4, it's time to get your life together. So I've been eyeing this guitar or something similar for a while, first because I just really like Fender Starcasters, their whole look and feel and vibe, and secondly because I've been looking to get a primarily humbucker based guitar. All the other guitars I own are primarily single coil guitars because that's the sound that I like. My Stratocaster has a humbucker in the bridge. My Les Paul has P90s, which are single coils, and the Filtertron pickups in my Gretsch are technically humbuckers, but I've been wanting to swap those out for true Filtertron pickups for a while, so I want something that's really based in humbuckers to give me that more powerful, straightforward kind of rock guitar sound. But I've always had trouble finding humbuckers that I really like playing through. They're usually too bassy or not enough clarity on the top end, or usually just too loud. But I think I found the solution in the Fender wide range humbuckers. So the wide range humbucker was designed by Seth Lover, the creator of the PAF humbucker found in classic Gibson guitars, and then Fender hired him over to their company to build something similar for them, and it originally went into the first Starcaster in the 70s, designed to try to compete with the popular Gibson ES335 guitar. The Starcaster was a spectacular failure and went away pretty quickly, but then on the used market they started becoming really popular as this quirky off-brand forgotten Fender model. Most notably Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead is a big fan of them, so as they started becoming popular again, Fender started reissuing the guitar. And the wide range humbucker is an interesting design. It's getting that classic Fender sound using the platform of a traditional humbucker design with some small tweaks. Most notably, you see the magnetic pole pieces under the strings are staggered, so there's sensing more towards the warm side of the lower strings and the bright side of the higher strings, hence the name wide range. And this guitar is a really great value and a rock solid instrument. I love what Squier's doing on their higher end models, just like my Squier J Mascis Jazzmaster. This thing really punches above its weight class. I've given my whole philosophy about why I like to purchase cheaper, more mid-priced guitars, linked to video here and here. I like to buy something cheaper that I can put some work into, swap out some parts, and get it feeling and sounding exactly the way I want it to, and afford to have a larger collection of diverse sounds rather than spending all my money on one guitar that sounds perfect. So today we're going to do a little work in upgrading this instrument, getting it up to speed with the rest of my collection and gig ready. It's going to go in 3 parts. First, we're going to work on the neck, primarily the back of the neck, getting it feeling really smooth and comfortable. Second, we're going to change out the pickups and all the electronics. And then third, we'll give the whole instrument a once-over setup, the bridge, the neck angle, the tuners, make sure everything's working top-notch. So first I want to lightly sand down the back of the neck of the guitar to get it feeling less glossy, more smooth. The science behind this is if you've ever run your hand across a glass window pane, the reason your hand meets resistance is because the glass is so smooth that it creates a sort of suction with your hand. Ideally, what you would want is a little bit of an air gap between the two surfaces so your hand just sort of floats across it. Sort of the reason why water slides go so fast is because the water acts as a buffer between you and the surface of the slide. So what we're going to be doing is I'll be using these finishing pads. I have 2 different grits of them, and I'll be technically roughing up the surface of the back of the neck, and I'll be creating thousands and thousands of little microscopic air gaps between my hand and the wood of the neck. So overall, it'll create a very smooth feeling. Then we're going to be changing out the pickups and all the electronics on the guitar. The stock pickups are pretty good. I'd say they sound really Fender-esque, but what I want in this guitar is wide range humbuckers that really lean more heavily towards the humbucker side of that sound. As far as the electronics, they're pretty good. The volume knob doesn't have the best sweep to it. In extreme cases, they're essentially just on-off switches. And if I'm going to be gigging and recording with this guitar, I like the peace of mind of knowing I have really high-quality electronics in the guitar, both for its stability and for how it contributes to the sound. So I love everything that 920D Custom makes. I have their electronics in about half of my guitars, and I'll probably be converting the other half of my guitars over soon enough. So I had them send me a whole new wiring kit for this guitar, and I ordered some new wide range humbuckers from Porter pickups. I've never used them before, but I have a lot of friends who have guitars with Porters in them, and they love them. And from the description, they're making wide range humbuckers that really have the power of your standard PAF humbucker, but still have the clarity from a wide range humbucker. So I'm really excited to hear how they sound in this guy. So I'll play a little bit through this guy just to get a before example, then I'll set up my workstation and get to work. First thing I'm doing is I'm working on the neck of the guitar. I prep by taping off the edges of the body and the headstock that I don't want to get accidentally scratched while I'm sanding the back of the neck. I take the finishing pad, I soak it in plain water and wring it out as much as possible before sanding the neck. This is called wet sanding, and it's great for something like this because it's less abrasive than dry sanding and it leaves a smoother finish overall. It also traps all of the dust that gets kicked up from sanding. So we're going pretty gentle here. I don't want to get down to the raw wood or anything like that. We want to keep that base coat of sealer on the neck that protects the wood and ensures a long life for the neck. We're just touching the top surface of that lacquer. Now I'm sanding down the neck and then gently wiping it off with a paper towel to check my progress. I start with the lower grit, that gets me moving, and then I move to the higher grit to make everything smooth. I even found some fine steel wool that I'm going to be using on the fretboard, and I finished the back of the neck with that, and it came out feeling great. Now this process does open up the finish a little bit, so the back of the neck will build up with oil from your hands and general dirt and such just a little bit faster, so it's good to keep a guitar polishing cloth handy in your gig bag or whatever, and even come back and give it another extremely light sanding maybe once a year or so to clean it off and to keep that smooth feeling on the back of the neck. Now I'm going to take the strings off. Maybe I should have done this first, but it doesn't matter because I'm not keeping these strings. First, I'm going to take a look at the frets. Now with cheaper guitars, sometimes you might have less than perfect fretwork. You might have frets sticking out from the edge of the fretboard a little bit. So when you run your hand across the neck of the guitar, you might get a little scratch from some excess fret peeking out. This guitar actually showed up in really good shape. I'm doing this just as a double check for peace of mind. I take these little sandpaper eraser blocks that I have that are perfect for this job, and I just go over the edge of the neck to just take out any excess fret that might be sticking out. Next, I have this little fret edge tool. I'm gonna go over all of my fret edges to make sure they're rounded off nicely, especially after I just use those eraser blocks on the edges. And then there's the fretboard itself. I just take a little bit of fretboard oil and my steel wool, and I'm just gonna make sure that the fretboard is nice and clean and lubricated, and that's it for the neck. Next up is the electronics. I have my kit from 920D and my Porter pickups. First, I take off all of the hardware. Then I start unscrewing the pickup covers and the washers from the knobs and pulling everything out of the guitar. Now, by far the hardest part of this whole project was going to be getting the electronics out of and back into the guitar because, well, hollow body guitars are such an ancient design. Solid body guitars have a pick guard you can pull off or a body cavity in the back, but with these, you just have to fish stuff through, and it's incredibly frustrating. So I got everything out. I'm reusing the brackets for the pickups, so I'm changing those over. And now that I have all my parts ready, it's time to solder the pickups and the ground wire on the guitar to the new electronics, and then put everything back into the guitar. This is where I ran into a couple of issues. First, the pickup selector switch was wired upside down. I totally forgot when I ordered this kit that the switch on the Gibson ES335, which this kit is for, is in a different location on the guitar than this guitar. So the simple solution here was, since I had enough slack on the wires to make it work, I just spun the switch 180 degrees in the guitar, so now it's properly oriented and my very dumb oversight didn't derail the whole thing. Dumb oversight number 2, I did not realize until this moment that there are different sizes for guitar potentiometers. I thought that they were just one universal size, so the new knobs will not fit through the holes in the guitar body. Yeah. So, I, refusing to admit defeat or exercise patience, decided to just grab my power drill and my pilot bits and widen out the holes enough for the new pots to fit through. This was extremely tedious and nerve-wracking because I went slow and tried to be very careful about it. I ended up chipping the finish around one of the holes anyway, but it's okay. The knob covers it up, and hey, now the guitar is officially broken in with its first real scar. I don't want any of my instruments too pristine. So after getting all of the sawdust out of the guitar, I could finish up installing the electronics. In fitting everything into the guitar, one of the wires soldered to the bridge volume pot got disconnected, so I needed to patch that up real quick. Then I test the pickups. The way to do this with no strings on the guitar is to tap on the pickup magnets with a screwdriver while turning the knobs to make sure they work properly. Once that is done, we can start putting the hardware back on. I put a little bit of graphite from a number 2 pencil on the bridge and nut saddles to lubricate them. This reduces string breakage. And then finally, I string up the guitar, I check the neck angle, and I adjust the pickup height. Now, I'm going to be continually experimenting with the pickup height until I find their sweet spot, but I have a pretty good idea of where I want to start. All right, let's hear it. Alright, the guitar is basically done. One little hiccup is the knobs that came on the guitar don't fit the potentiometers on the new electronics, so I have an order in for some new knobs. Besides that, it's playing really well. The neck feels great and the pickups sound amazing. They're exactly the sound that I'm going for, and I'm very, very excited to use this guitar a lot. Just if you have any questions about anything I did, then please leave a comment below. Otherwise, like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. Love y'all.